Hey, welcome to Guitar Knobs, the guitars, gear, noise, and nonsense podcast, hosted today by these knobs.
Get all the gassy burps out of you.
I'm good, man. Jared Brandon.
Hey, it's me, Todd Novak. Online, we have a former special guest returning as a knob, returning to the fold.
Zach Broyles from Mythos Pedals.
Yeah.
The one and only. Yes. So we're happy to have him here. And we brought him on specifically because he just can't stop showing pictures of this guitar that he got done. It is gorgeous, and you've probably seen it on the interwebs. So we wanted to kind of talk about a specific
Come on now, don't be bashful.
topic.
That's all, folks.
A special topic about refinishing. So that should be exciting. We're going to have fun talking about that today.
Absolutely.
Yes. Jared's refinished a whole lot of stuff. I have not refinished anything. Well, no, that's not true. I refinished my very first guitar, if everybody remembers.
Now, you did that yourself, though. I had my stuff done.
Very badly,
Yeah.
I might add.
But it's still cool.
Yeah, it was fun. So let's get to it.
Yeah, hey, man. If you dig what we're doing here on the Guitar Knobs podcast, you can show your support by becoming a patron on patreon.com. For less than the cost of a handful of guitar picks or a big, thick shredder style loose-like pick that you can help keep this podcast running. And for the cost of a couple of your favorite microbrew IPAs, you can get one of our super cool Guitar Knob shirts as well, which I am wearing today. Very comfortable. You can support our show at patreon.com/theguitarknobs. We appreciate you sharing our experience and your continued support. Thank you very much. Please sign up.
Ta-da.
Yo.
You did a good job there.
Hey, I
Jared.
tried.
Nice.
I'm sweating now.
He is sweating, actually.
And it's hot in here.
It's a lot of pressure.
And, yeah.
Anyhow, so, yeah, lots of activity, lots of awesome things going on our various channels. We invite you to check them out. Instagram, Facebook, mostly. We put stuff up on Twitter. Check it out. Chat with us. We're getting lots of great questions and comments from people, and we love it. We really do love it. So thank you.
Please ask any questions you have. Please. It's fun to answer them. Even if we've answered them before.
You're sounding a little bit
fun.
desperate right now, bro. I'm just saying.
Well, there's people that are scared to ask.
Yeah, that's true. Okay. Zach, do you have any business that you need to take care of?
Well,
Make a plug, bro. Do it.
well, yeah, you can. I've been building a lot of pedals, so yeah, go to mythospedals.com and you can see all the stuff I'm building, and I've got some new stuff in the works, and I'm going to be announcing it very soon. So pretty exciting. That'll all be, I'm gonna try to do more YouTube stuff. So that's the main goal in the coming months, is being more active, making videos.
Yeah, I hear YouTube's a thing.
Yeah, it's the second most used search engine in the world.
Kind of crazy,
So-
next to Pinterest.
Yeah.
They are battling it out, though. Honestly, that's actual truth. So let's see. Zach, you go first. What did you do? What's going on with you this week, buddy?
Well, not had a whole lot going on lately other than just the same old building guitar pedals and working. But next week, I'm going up to Minnesota to shoot some YouTube videos with Rob Chapman.
Oh, yeah.
YouTube guy, Chappers.
Yep.
He is coming to Riff City Guitar, which they just opened a new store in New Hope, which is right outside Minneapolis. And he's doing a clinic, and every quarter he's going to come to the States and start doing videos with them, because the thing with Andertons, he's still going to be a part of it, but he's kind of like trying to help build Riff City up. Mm-hmm. So they invited me to come out and do some Mythos videos and hang out with Rob.
Awesome,
and
dude.
So I'm going to fly up, and that's going to be Friday. So we'll see what happens.
Fantastic.
I love Minnesota.
Yeah. I do too. I lived there for 5 years.
Minnesota and Wisconsin, those two states. If I was forced to move out of Ohio for some reason, I would move up there.
Yeah.
I've never been. I have a list of guitar shops that I'm going to try to hit, and so we'll see what happens.
I got some good places to eat for you too.
Yeah.
Oh yes.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Jared.
Well, very good guitar week for me. So I have a little friend that lives a town over, and
like a dwarf, or
he is compared to me, man.
Can I say that?
I bet he's like this kid's like probably 100 pounds. He's 19, but he's a heck of a great guitar player, and his knowledge about guitars and amplifiers are way beyond what I knew at his age. So we get together and talk about gear and compare gear and stuff. And he's got a lot of gear for his age. So I'm proud of him for what he knows. So we hang out, and he brought this Plexi clone. If for those of you who don't know, it's kind of like...
Is this the kid you brought to the guitar show with the two linebackers?
Yeah. Yep.
Gracious, those guys are big.
Yeah, but the kid isn't.
We're all jammed in behind this table and like, what the crap is going on here?
That's Buford, and
really,
the other kid was named
Buford.
Buford, as in Buford T. Justice.
Yep.
And the other kid's name is Anthony Sibilia. Sorry, Anthony. And Zach Oswald is my little buddy's name.
Yeah.
And they're all my buddies, but anyway, he brought over a Plexi clone, and it's kind of modeled after a JTM 45. Mm-hmm. or what they kind of, I think Marshall borrowed that technology from the early Bassman, I want to say, Blackface. So it's kind of like this kit. It's a kit amp. It's an amp kit or whatever. And there's a switch in the back where you can change the rectifier to solid state, and there's choices, and it you can have some flub or you can have it tight. I mean, it's a really cool amp. It's a Plexi clone. And I said, "Who built this for you?" And he said, "Man, I paid like less than $100 from this kid that's younger than me that built this amp out of a kit." I'm like, "Are you kidding me? This thing is..."
Wait,
awesome.
He paid $800 on top of the amp?
No, he paid like less than $800 for this amp because this kid...
Total.
He wanted to move it. I mean, the kit cost...
That's a good deal.
The kit cost $800.
Yeah.
Plus you got to pay somebody to build it. So I said, "Really?" He said, "Yeah." So, months go by, and I'm like, "Give me this kid's info." So this kid named Kyle Blackburn... lives over in Pennsylvania. The kid's a genius. I mean, he put this thing together when he was 16, sold it to Zach. So I said, "Hey, make me one."
Genius is a big word.
Well, yeah, you're right. I'm just giving him a lot of credit because I wouldn't attempt to build, like, my first amp kit. It would not be a Marshall. It would probably be a simple old Fender,
Yeah.
So
they're simpler than, because a Marshall is, most early Marshalls are based off like tweed amps, which are way simpler than like Blackface amps.
Yeah, but I called Mojo, and I'm like, because I thought about doing this myself, and they said, "Oh, you don't want to start off with a Plexi clone, man. You want to start off with like a simple Fender, whatever,
like a Champ or something."
Yeah, it's just something.
Yeah.
And I was like, "What? Okay." And I've never tried to do this. I don't have time. It's not practical for me. So
This is true. You don't.
I bought a Plexi clone from this kid. I gave him the money for the kit, and I gave him a set of my pickups, and he was fine with that. And I got the clone this week. I got it 2 days ago, and it didn't work the first time I plugged it in. One of the channels didn't work, one of the preamp things didn't work, and I was really mad. I was like, "What is going on?" And it turns out he just had two of the tubes switched. So It was just a matter of switching.
Is this the genius guy you were talking about?
That's exactly right.
Okay.
I'm telling you what, man. If you see this kid's work is impeccable.
Yeah.
Because I took the amp apart to see what was going on. He simply just
Except for the
switched.
dyslexia.
Right. That's the only thing. So I do the same thing all the time. You know? So I switched it over. This thing is awesome. It's probably one of the best amps that I've had yet.
Yeah.
The Buddha is pretty cool.
Yeah.
But I love the Buddha.
I know you do.
Through a 412, yeah. But not the... I don't like the 212 cabinet it comes with. I don't like that.
Yeah. Well,
I like the 412
I'd like
sound.
to hear the Plexi through your new old Marshall.
Yeah, with the...
cab.
That's right.
All vintage.
That's right. Currently, I am collecting all pre-rolla with the original cones, Pulsonic. That's what they're called. And I'm going to have a full stack of Pulsonic cone pre-rolla finished 30s. So
Nice.
Yep.
One of the secrets I've always heard for vintage Marshalls is you turn the treble all the way up, you turn the mids all the way up, and the bass you barely turn it up, and that's like the sweet spot.
Wow.
And every vintage Marshall I've played, when I've done it that way, it sounds right.
Wow.
Interesting.
I'll have to give that a shot, man. Thanks for that.
Try it.
So that's what's going on in my guitar world, and I'm really excited about that. It's about time I have some like really good, amps that people can relate to instead of these oddball amps that people usually don't have.
Like oranges.
And the Buddha.
Yeah.
But everybody's had or tried a clone, a Plexi clone that spends money on buying my product, because they want vintage pure, and Plexi clones and, vintage stuff. That's what people want. So
yeah.
That's the kind of thing I'm going for. Yeah.
Some people.
Yeah. That's the crowd I'm looking for, man. I'm looking for the vintage people.
I get you.
That's what was going on in my week.
All right. Not knocking the genius or anything. I was just making entertaining gab.
Oh, no.
So let's see. Gosh, there's been a ton going on. I'm going to spin the wheel of pick something. And I'm going with, so I'm buying a new acoustic electric. I haven't decided. I mean, I think I've decided what I want. But up to 2 days ago, I've changed my mind about 4 times. So it's, when you're shopping around online, it's really easy to go this one, that one, and you listen to a couple, watch a couple YouTube videos, and you get an idea of what you think you want. I don't have a tremendous amount of knowledge about acoustic guitars, but I'm certainly learning a lot just by forcing myself to learn. I went into a local big guitar store yesterday, played the 2 that I thought that I was interested in, totally balked on both of them. So then I was like, oh no, I gotta start over. And I've got a gig coming up where I need that guitar, so I can't be taken forever.
You can just borrow one of mine.
I know everybody's been real nice lending me their acoustic guitars, but it's not the same. I appreciate it, and if I am in a jam, not a jam like jam, but like I'm in a sticky position, I will hit you up. I think I found the one.
What is it?
What is it?
Well, I don't know if I should say, because if it's not it, then I haven't found that one. But okay,
maybe
what
we
the
have
heck?
experience.
Yes, that's true. I am looking at a relatively new Art and Lutherie Americana Dreadnought, and it's made by the Godin factory.
Oh, okay.
On paper, this thing looks pretty great. In the videos that I've seen, it sounds pretty great. And I've actually watched videos where they're playing them up against Martins. I'm also working with the budget, so those couple of things and the style of guitar I want, I said, okay, I think this might do it. So I'm going to go we've got a music go around close by that has one, and I'm going to go check it out. The other thing to that I have to consider is that I am not a prolific acoustic player, and I'm not playing coffee houses where it's got to sound like, oh man, James Taylor sounds awesome tonight. Can I have another cappuccino? It's not that at all. It's like I'm plugged in. I got a band behind me, and we're doing Johnny Cash tribute. So I'm strumming hard. For me, that tells me like I can't be consumed with tone equals dollars. So here's the thing: I watched a really long video on how these things are made, and I was thoroughly impressed, like 100% impressed.
Are they made in Canada?
They're made in Canada. It's all it's all Canadian wood except for the rosewood fretboard, and so it's pressure tested solid spruce top, silverleaf maple neck, rosewood fingerboard and bridge. Wild cherry back and sides.
Cherry back and sides.
Yeah.
Wild cherry.
So, and it's got built-in electronics, not too crazy. They look great. They're affordable. From what I've heard, they sound great, so I'm excited to go check it out. And I'm actually looking, I wanted a matte black one. Now, that's a really hard thing to find in the acoustic guitar world.
Yeah.
Because my previous one was a matte black, and I really liked it. And the difference is this one comes with a perloid teardrop pick guard, but I want to take it off and I want to take it off and put a like a batwing, a double batwing black,
like
so it'd be gloss.
Everly Brothers kind of thing.
Yeah, or like the Johnny's first guitar, the one that's in the Hall of Fame. So I've already mocked that up in Photoshop and looks sweet. I'm just saying. Tony
Dudzik probably cannot wait to build that.
I've already talked to him about it.
You know it.
Anyway, so more to come on this. Like I said, I'm not an acoustic connoisseur. So as long as it sounds good, I'm okay with it.
Is it black?
It's it's like a matte black, not a gloss.
Oh, okay.
It's not piano black. The Americana comes in. There's another color that they have called I think Bourbon Burst, and it looks pretty sweet. Not gonna lie, it looks really nice, and I wouldn't be pissed to have that one either.
But I mean, the Batwing thing will cover half the dang guitar.
Well, if I wanted to, I get to design it. So
no, that's true.
Yeah, but it'll look cool on that
If you play like you do, and you're all like, super jammy with it, just
super jammy.
I don't know, rough.
Yeah.
Then I would suggest getting a nice big old pickguard for it.
Yeah.
Right. I've always found with acoustics, don't hunt one with electronics because they can be added. It's like find the one that sounds good.
Get a Fishman.
Well, I use K&K in all my acoustic guitars. That you don't have to drill a hole in the top. It's like 3 little transducers that go under the bridge plate. They're like $100. If you're going into like a pedal or a DI or something, they're perfect. And I don't know, there's so many good options for acoustics that are like budget friendly now.
Yeah,
but not many in black. That's the only thing.
Yeah,
and all the ones in black are like the little parlor kind of like kind of guitars, 12 fret things.
Yeah. So I know it's a weird. Jared likes sparkle guitars, and I
have a few.
It's just the only time I'm really ever going to play this out, in all honesty, is for this Johnny Cash tribute band. So I'm like, I'm all in black. I want the guitar to be in black. Let's do this. So we'll see what happens. More to come. No snobbery thrown at me, please. Because it's weird, man. The acoustic world is one of those things where, ooh, man, you can get people looking down their nose at you real quick.
Oh yeah, like showing up to a bluegrass jam with a Gibson guitar. Just get out of there.
Okay, noted.
Oh yeah. Don't show up to like any country gig with like a PRS, and don't show up to a bluegrass jam with a Gibson guitar. Those are the rules.
How is
well,
that?
I guess modern country is PRS, but like an old school country, no.
Yeah.
Really?
Help me understand that, because I mean, Gibson was right there.
Yeah. What about the Gibson Dove? I mean, I know they're kind of dark sounding, and they never had that Martin sound.
Right. All the hardcore bluegrassers, they love like D28s and D18s and like, I mean, and things that are made similar to that. But like a J45, I mean, people play them, but 90% of all the bluegrass world that I've been interacted with is
all
Martin.
Yeah.
Like,
well,
not hardcore.
What was really interesting is I watched a guy who he's a big deal-ish on YouTube for his acoustic reviews and things. And he's got loads and loads of Martin, reviews and stuff. And he was comparing both of these and he was like, I'm telling you, like, this is what's good about this, and this is what's good about this. And overwhelmingly, he was pointing out things that were better about this Art and Lou Theory guitar. So that made me say, he goes, if you don't believe me, go watch this video. So I watched the video. I was like, okay, all right. Yeah. I think I'm sold because it's half or less. It's about half the cost of a Martin. And I have other things to spend money on, so like other guitars that I'll play more. Anyways, spending money on things that I kind of want. On to our big fat topic of the day, which is refinishing. So anybody out there who has considered, wanting to paint their guitar a different color, wanting to restore a guitar, wanting to, do an upgrade or a fix on it, I guess this would all be encompassed in the refinishing discussion. This was brought about because Zach, as he did our first interview with him, was mentioning that he was about to get his baby, his prize Les Paul,
R9, right?
Pearly Gates.
Yes.
Yeah. And the R9. He's about to get it refinished by a very, very notable refinisher. And then, boom, all the pictures came out. So I thought, this would be an interesting thing to talk about. And I know Jared's refinished an awful lot of guitars.
Had them
refinished. Yeah. So this discussion is not going to be how to do it with your hands, but things to consider.
Absolutely.
When you are considering it.
Yep.
So, Zach, let's start off really quick with you, just as far as like, how did that decision come about?
Well, I have had that guitar. I bought it new. So I'd had it for just a couple years. It's like a 2014. And it was, everything I'd ever wanted out of a Les Paul just felt right, sounded right. Every set of pickups in it still sounded good. It's just like this was my guitar. And it's one of those things that it never crosses my mind to sell it. So I thought, why not see if I can make it look like how I envisioned it in my head, because it was cool looking and it was fine. But my favorite guitar was Pearly Gates, and just from working at Carter Vintage Guitars and meeting Tom Murphy, striking up that conversation, it became something that was possible. And he refins a lot of guitars for people. He only ages for Gibson, but like the refinishing thing just like came up, just mentioning it to him, and he was excited to do it. So, I thought if the opportunity presents itself for me to do something that I've always wanted to do and could create a guitar that I love so much into something that I'll love even more, why not?
That's a good reason.
Right. and for me, because since Tom is not doing this through Gibson, I don't get any certification or anything. It's just like, this is for me. I love it. I'm not going to sell it, even though because it's him, it's not going to lose any value if it's refinished. And that's something we can talk about because that's important for vintage guitars and stuff. But, it was just the ability to have something I'd always wanted come to fruition was so exciting. And it turned out so much better than I even could have imagined, because I was there when he did it. So it was really cool to see it all happen.
I believe in the Gibson world, having Tom Murphy refinish a guitar that actually, I want to say that it adds value. Because of the fact that he does age for Gibson, and people know, if you're a big Gibson fan and you like the upper echelon Gibsons, you know who Tom Murphy is.
And he is the reason why there is a historic and a reissue style guitar. And because Tom was painting production guitars like Les Paul standards for a while. And so he just kind of, took on this role. And even if you talk to him, he wants people to know him for his finishing work and not just his aging, because the way he paints these things is so special. And his attention to detail is just, it's unbelievable how good he is.
You mentioned that he had to come up with, is this a proprietary color?
Yeah. So my guitar started out in washed cherry, which is like a cherry sunburst that has faded. Now Gibson Les Pauls now, they will fade, but it'll take them a long time. Old bursts would fade just being in the window of a store, but these new ones, the tops won't fade. The backs will, but the tops won't. So
why is that?
Because the originals used an aniline dye, and the red in that dye, when exposed to UV, would fade away. So that's how you get, honey burst and iced tea burst and lemon burst. It's just different stages of that red disappearing, because when Les Pauls were originally finished, they were pretty dark. The burst was fairly dark. So we had a picture of Pearly Gates Les Paul, Billy Gibbons guitar from the early 70s in color, and Tom wanted to match my guitar to this picture, and it was before Pearly kind of faded, because Pearly has a very unique color and a fade pattern, but he wanted to do that, and so I said, okay, you're the boss, and so that's what he did. That's awesome. And it's all by eye with him. We stripped it. He puts he does his special thing to the top, and then he painted it yellow, and then started bringing in browns and reds to create the burst. And he would say, "Is this enough?" And then we'd take it outside, hold it in the sun, and I'd say, "Let's do a little bit more brown here." And then he'd hang it back up and shoot some more brown on it, and just got it to where it was starting to pop. And then when I left, it was pretty red, and just from hanging up and the colors kind of relax, it all kind of reeled itself back to have this really beautiful, very unique color that you only really see on some guitars that Tom does.
Mm-hmm. You said he did something to the top. I know you probably can't tell the proprietary special tricks, but can you give us a general idea of what that means?
He just does a treatment so that the flame really pops, and it's his own Tom Murphy thing. And it's, I don't know what it is, but he puts it on there, and I've seen other guitars he's refinished where he's taken a guitar that basically looked like a plain top, didn't have any flame to it, puts the stuff on it, and the flame comes out. It draws the flame out of the wood. It's amazing.
Wow.
But he does that, and the guitar, it had a lot of flame to begin with, but now it's way more 3D. So when you move it, you can see the flames change depending on what angle you look at it.
Oh yeah.
So, and that's what real Les Paul nuts want. They want it to, and the guys that like really flamey, like PRS or whatever, when you move it, you want it to look like it's like waves in an ocean or something.
Yeah, you can actually, and I want to bring Fender in for a second too. You can buy custom shop Fenders with flamey maple necks as well.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And those are really awesome on a flamey.
Yeah, you have one.
I had one, and I sold it to a local musician.
Okay.
But he fell in love with it, man. I mean, those are really cool too.
Yeah, Fenders, they have like a ghost flame where if you turn the neck one way, it'll be super flamey, and then you turn another way and the flame disappears.
Yeah, it's really cool.
And that's really awesome.
Ghost flame.
It's all natural.
Ghost flame.
So that's an interesting thing just within the world of the Gibson Les Paul world. I said world twice, but you know what I mean. I personally have not grabbed onto mucho flame.
Right.
Right? Like some of the PRS stuff, I'm like, okay, I get it.
Too flamey?
Too flamey. Right?
I agree.
And I think typically a really, really well done Les Paul is just approaching that area, but it rarely goes into that area. Is that
Right,
fair to
yeah.
say?
Yeah, and I mean, if you look, like, when they first started making reissues, and a lot of the standards now, they have like AA and AAA and quadruple A flame, where it's just like super uniform lines. They're just like really precise flame striping. Like most of the old school Les Pauls don't look like that. If you look at 58s, 59, and 60s, the flame is like, some of them are book matched perfect, where, you know, they cut it down the middle and open it like a book, and then the flame will be perfectly a mirror image on each side of the top. But most of them are imperfect, and they were just making guitars. They weren't trying to make art pieces. So
yours is not matched. Is not.
No, mine's not book matched at all.
Yeah.
It's mostly Eastern maple, I want to say, right? The old Gibson stuff, because they're in Kalamazoo, Michigan.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, yeah, that explains that. And I think isn't that flame a little tighter anyway?
Yeah, you know, it just depends. There's
like quarter sawn or what do you call that? Or
quarter sawn, I think, is more about the grain.
Yeah, you're right. But
the flame, it just depends on where the trees are from, and flame itself is just a mutation in the wood. But with, you know, Les Paul nuts, they want it to be kind of imperfect, and that's the polar opposite of what you guys said, like the PRS world,
Right.
which, you know, those high end ones are just, they're so perfect, they look like lines on paper. And those are like, I don't know. They're cool guitars, and they're like the blues lawyer guitars, you know. I don't want to offend anybody. The people that have a lot of money and just want to buy a pretty guitar, you know, those kind of things.
The blues lawyer.
A Kansas guitar player played a PRS in the 90s, and that's exactly what he said. He said, yeah, this one's pretty cool, and mostly dentists and doctors buy these.
That's right. Yeah.
But rich man's guitar.
The chance of him doing your guitar happened by chance, right?
Yeah, and he does it. It's just like you have to know him. You know, it's not like you can just like look him up on the internet or get his phone number. You have to know him to have that sort of privilege, which is nice.
And let me ask you this: if you hadn't have met Tom Murphy, would you have had the guitar he finished?
Probably not, because. And I mean, this is something we can talk about, is that most refinishing is pretty expensive. And I've gotten quotes for doing just the top before, and I was like, you know, it wasn't out of the realm of possibility. But most of the time, guys like, yeah, we'll refin it, but we also want to carve the top, and we can reshape the neck. I'm like, no, you know, like there's always some sort of package, and I didn't want to change the guitar. I just wanted to just put a different coat of paint on it, you know.
So when you said it can get pretty expensive, you know, for those who haven't explored this before, what are we talking about?
Well, have you guys heard of RS Guitar Works in Kentucky?
Oh, of course, yeah.
Yeah, they're great. And they quoted like doing the top of my guitar. It was like, you know, be like $600 or $700.
Okay.
Or something. Maybe not that much, but it was around, you know, it was going to, you know, it wasn't going to hurt, but it was going to sting. And then
they do good work though. I know that.
Oh yeah. They're great, you know, and I would never be sad to have sent my guitar to them. You can definitely bank on their experience. But other guys like Historic Makeovers, which is down in Florida, they only work on Gibson custom shops. They don't do the tops. They do the whole thing. And those packages start at about $2,000.
Wow, my goodness.
Which, you know, when it's a,
but if you got a guitar that's over $10,000, it's
right. I mean, my guitar new was about $5,000, and that's a big chunk of that. And I don't know if it was worth it, but Tom gave me a very reasonable rate that I felt very comfortable with.
Apparently,
yeah.
That's and for those who have not seen it, we will be posting out some photos, but ahead of time. I was telling my wife, I was trying to explain, you know, what we were going to do today, and I uttered the words, I think it may be the finest looking Les Paul I've ever seen.
Well, thank you. And there's a lot of upgrades on
just
the guitar.
From pictures, so I can only imagine what that's like in person.
Yeah, and the only thing stock on it is the tuners. So really.
Yeah.
And the back paint now.
And then since you took the pick guard off, I'm sure it's even more.
No, pick guard's staying on. Pick guard is on. Never coming off.
Yeah, I'm the same way, man. Got to have the pick guard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that is an approach. If you are trying to find somebody to maybe resurrect the flame within, or you're not looking for just, hey, paint this guitar this whatever color, that kind of a thing. If somebody's looking to do that, what are the right things to ask for?
Pictures before and after, in like detail. You want to be able to see that it's seamless, because when you scratch the paint off, if you're just doing a top, for example, you want to make sure it blends in. It's like touching up a spot on a car.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
You don't want to see that that looks like it's been hit with paint.
Yeah.
Exactly.
But seeing work is I think,
previous
the biggest thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially before and after shots, because anybody can say they've done something and anybody can show you anything, but you have to do your own research. And that's why, like, there's so many forums on the internet with people that just, show the whole process, and that is invaluable. And you should never get something like that done, especially to something that is precious to you, just haphazardly. You should do your research and take time and talk to the person, but see if they have experience. How many guitars have they painted? Is it 10? Is it 1? Or is it, hundreds and hundreds?
Yeah. Do you have a particular forum that you like to hang out on?
Well, Les Paul, like the Les Paul forum and my Les Paul, I like those for Les Paul stuff. I've perused the gear page, but I don't know. I don't spend a lot of time reading stuff on the internet like that.
Yeah.
Because most of it's such conjecture. I'm just there for the pictures. Yeah.
I get you.
I like what you said about being cautionary to refinishing, because if something's precious to you, and I want to use that as kind of a segue into my story. I learned on an old 1969 Gibson Dove, and it's the first guitar that I ever played on and started to learn chords. And the backstory on that is my dad was in college and he was playing his 1970 Les Paul Custom with a Fender Dual Showman. Oh, God. And it would blow everybody out of the water. So he sold that and he bought a used 1969 Gibson Dove Custom in I think it's Sunburst. It's a very rare. I know Ace Frehley has one, and then the one my dad bought, that's the only two I knew of. Anyway, I learned on that guitar. I always adored that guitar because it was my dad's, and I always looked up to my dad. He was my hero. He was very talented singer player. Over the years, the bridge started to raise, the bracing started to come loose. It had the mustache bridge is very well known for Doves, and it had the ebony adjustable bridge, which was a terrible idea. Right. And the action grew worse and worse over the years. So my dad just replaced it with a crafter, just something to get him by for a while until he bought the guitar that he's always wanted, which was a Martin D45. I asked him one day, I said, when are you going to will me this guitar? And I have two other brothers. And he said, well, I'll will it to you, but you can have it when I die. And so one day we were sitting in his office and he said, Jared, I want you to have the Gibson Dove. And I started to get worried. And I said, Dad, are you going to die? You said you weren't going to give it to me until you died. And he said, no, man, I just got a new guitar. So I was like, oh, you scared me there for a minute. So anyway, like I said, the thing was kind of just falling out of shape. Reluctantly, I said to myself, I've got to get this thing refinished. It had checking galore. It had a small chip of the hole, the sound hole There's a lot of bracing around that and trim. And it was just, the guitar was in really bad shape. So I thought, I've got to get this thing restored or refinished or something. So I took it up to Lay's Guitar Repair in Akron, Ohio. They're a very well-known, respected guitar repair. They not only repair, but they refinish, and they build their own guitars. They do work for the Gibson Custom Shop, and they do celebrity work and all that kind of thing. They're a well-known place. So I took it up there.
They're not giving us any money, so slow down there, bud.
Hey. No, they're that good, man. I've got a really good personal relationship with the guys up there. So they said, listen, this top's got to come off. So they replaced the top, and he called me up and said, listen, do you care if this is a Martin top? Because Martin makes the exact same top with the trim and all that, and the binding and whatnot. I said, man, I don't care. I just want it to look the same. I want it to sound good. When they were done, and I've got a little video of this too during the process. But when they were done, they put a new Martin top on this thing, and they took the old top and they matched the finish perfectly. It looked like this exact same guitar, but brand new. Mm-hmm. And it sounds just phenomenal. It sounds way better than it ever has. They put a bone, they filled in the mahogany where the mahogany adjustable bridge was, and they put a bone in there, and the thing sounds excellent. And they dressed down the frets too, which I was surprised, because my dad played the living daylights out of this thing, for 30 years before that. So I was really impressed. And the guitar means more to me than anything in any guitar I have. And the value was, I guess it was technically taken away when I had it redone, but the personal value is priceless to me.
Right.
And that in my world, it was worth every penny spent to preserve that guitar, so I can pass that guitar down in my family, and they can pass it on and appreciate the guitar, and the thing actually plays well.
Right.
So, to me, refinishing a guitar should be an occasion where it's well worth doing, and it retains its value. Even if it's personal value.
Well, that's kind of you're going down a path of like restoration.
Yeah, it was a full restoration.
But refinishing was a portion of that.
Yeah, that's true. But I can go on and on about. I've had probably more than 20 guitars redone, and for different reasons. But that one was special to me. I thought I would share today. But,
yeah.
But that's one of the reasons why you would have a guitar refinished. Totally. Right there.
Right.
And restoration on a vintage, refinishing on a vintage instrument is different than restoration in a lot of ways for a resale value. And that's the thing, like you said, that guitar is priceless to you. So the value is, does it play well? Does it sound right?
Yeah.
And that's what makes it special. But for a lot of people that don't know better and are just trying to get something to flip or sell or whatever, refinishing on a vintage piece, there are a few.
It.
Yeah, it does.
It cuts it in half.
Yeah.
Like in half.
Yeah,
there are a few exceptions.
You're right, though. If you've got a vintage instrument from the 60s and before that, and you have that redone, even from the 70s, it kills it right in half.
Yeah. Yeah. There's so many different levels, because there's refinishing, there's overspray, where you just shoot something over top of what's already there.
Yeah. That's hard to hide too, because it just darkens what's there if it's a natural finish.
And in some instances, it's not too big of a deal. Like I've seen Fender guitars that were refinished by Fender a few years later. Mm-hmm. And so it's like, oh, okay, well, it's refinished, but is it really? You know?
Yeah, if you get
So-
a vintage custom color Strat from the 50s, 60s, and that finish starts to wear off, you'll see a
Sunburst.
a sunburst. It's really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that was, if you remember, we had John. He
Yeah.
brought in his vintage Olympic white Jaguar.
Fine Blair.
Underneath it was the burst, because they were all painted burst first.
Right.
And that was really cool to kind of to be able to see that peeking through underneath and just going, wow, that's a guitar with a different name underneath that paint.
I'm so glad he brought that in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When we're not discussing a historic or sentimental kind of situation like you guys are talking about, and we just want to say, I bought this Jazzmaster, somebody painted it purple, and I want to repaint it. What are some of the things that one should consider when just changing the color of a solid body, solid color?
Well, are you going to strip it down to the bare wood, or are you going to paint over top what's already there? Because that, you know, if it's a newer guitar, it's probably got a poly finish,
Right.
Which is essentially plastic. That's hard to get off. You can get it off, but for some, in some instances, just painting over it is easier, but you're going to add weight, because, you know, layers of paint they're heavy. You know, you don't really think about it, but it does add to the weight of a guitar. So
Pick up a can of paint.
yeah, exactly. But you know, that's, I think, something important to consider. For in a lot of ways, it may be easier just to buy a unfinished body and then have it painted. But you know, if you like the vibe of something, you can change it. But then again, it may change.
Yeah.
You know,
Right.
when you strip the paint off of it.
So, Jared, you've had quite a few guitars refinished. What are some of the things that you've considered? Well, I should say you probably haven't considered a whole lot. You just said, I want this a different color. Go ahead.
Well, before I buy the guitar, I already have a project in mind. And the guitar has probably already been beaten down or already stripped down and sold as a project guitar.
Yeah.
So you're getting it very cheap. So I already, in my mind, have a plan. That's pretty much what goes through my mind. I mean, is what color do I want it? Who's going to do the work? How much is it going to cost? How badly do I want this guitar?
Yeah.
Because most of the time, the money you put into a refinish into that guitar, most of the time you're not going to come out ahead.
Yeah,
unless it's a vintage instrument.
Yeah.
So you have to really, really, really want that guitar and have yourself attached to it.
Yeah.
So that's what you have to think about. It's really not a great financial investment unless that's something you're not going to want to get rid of.
Right. Or at least unless you got it for a steal.
Right.
And
you get to think, you get a vintage instrument that usually goes for, $2,000 and you paid $500 for it.
Yeah.
You put another 500 in a refin, you still have a really good looking, cool guitar for $1,000.
Right.
But in
like
original condition,
sparkle.
that goes for $2,000.
Right.
Yeah.
One thing that I've always, there have been a couple guitars that I've bought where I'm looking at it and I knew, like, right off the bat, it's sort of like when you go buy a car or a house or something, you're like, that is ugly. That is just ugly.
Right.
But I know what it is, and I want that thing that's underneath that ugly.
Feels good to play.
And the price
Sounds
is right.
good. Yeah.
And then you're like, yeah, I'll just get it repainted.
Right.
And then you're like, I don't know how to do that. I don't know how to go about getting it repainted. And then you say, oh, it's cool. I'll just take it to somebody. Now, here's a big I'm going to make the assumption this is a ginormous difference in what you can expect when you lay said guitar on the counter with Mr. Painter Guy.
Right.
Is it a bolt-on neck, or is it a set neck with a set painted neck? Because now you're getting into and if you got, it's like, let's say it's like a I'll just go with the cheaper an Epiphone Les Paul custom. So you got bound neck, painted neck, set neck.
Oh man.
Here's what I think is really considered. I don't think that's. I mean, I can see where you're coming from there, but honestly, if you look at a Strat, I know you don't like Strats that much. If you look at a Stratocaster body,
Yeah.
look how many contours and curves are on that thing.
But it's, I get the body part. I mean,
Those are difficult to. If you're gonna have to strip it down, that's difficult to do. If you have a piece of sandpaper in your hand and you mess up one of those contours, you're gonna see that a mile away.
I understand that. I'm getting more towards the idea that if you have a guitar that you've got a bound neck, and or heck, even just a painted neck that isn't bound, but you also have, the headstock, the face of the headstock, like, is black.
It's just fine.
So,
it
like,
really need...
actually, a great example is your Les Paul Special double cutaway.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So that is not a bound neck, but it is a painted neck, and it also has a black headstock face.
Mm-hmm.
That seems like something that is going to almost double the price of a refinish, based on the fact that they have to get you have to get the neck and where it joins with the fingerboard.
All the
you
fine.
know what I mean? Like,
I know what you mean.
Go ahead, Zach.
You got to tape off that fingerboard and make it clean, because the lines are going to be so much more like apparent.
thickness too. You're talking paint and poly at that
the
point,
thickness
or
of the
nitro
paint and all that kind of stuff. It's all the little tricks of the trade that they know. Yeah, they know how to handle all that kind of thing. And
they know how to handle your money.
That's right. And you got clear coat, and that all depends on what kind of finish you want. Do you want them to use lacquer? Do you want them to use poly? Do you there's so many choices to choose from.
So, okay, just on that note real quick. So let's say I go and I say, all right, I want to get this Les Paul Special double cutaway. I'm being specific about that because I like the double cutaway.
I do too, man. It's a good guitar.
Well, I bought it. I bought one because I played yours.
Yeah.
I bought the exact one.
That's right.
We have two of the exact guitars now.
Yeah, we do.
With the Gibson Explorers.
Yes, we do.
On accident.
They're both awesome guitars.
Yeah. Anyways, I don't even know how to transition. So here's my point. Okay, so I'm gonna go do that, and he says, "All right, you want what kind of finish you want to put on this?" Right? Now you have the opportunity. Let's say it was a poly finish. Mm-hmm. The sort of like desire to have a nitro finish that's going to age beautifully and everything.
People think the wood breathes better that way. With the wood. Yeah.
Breathes.
Yeah. They think it breathes better.
Yeah. So
I'm serious.
I mean, is there how much of a case is there for that? I'm playing sort of devil's advocate here. So
vintage spec, man. People want vintage spec on their guitars.
Not everybody. Careful when we say people.
There are people that do.
Yes.
There is a vintage crazed that are high on the hype that want that vintage finish and that vintage feel.
Zach got poly on his Les Paul.
No. Like, wait a minute.
I've been buzzing on that vintage hype high for a long time, and I want what's correct on the guitar for vintage specification.
Right.
If I don't buy. I do buy standard Gibsons, but for the most part, I have vintage Gibsons, and I have a 56 junior body converted to a 59, and I had that all vintage correct. So
I have all the cheapest guitars that you guys don't have.
yeah, but I really love that Epiphone that Epiphone acoustic you had sounds phenomenal. So I'm not dissing on the cheap guitars.
Yeah, no. I'm just bringing in the lower ranks to join the convo.
Well, that's
here.
fine. I mean, because I've got those too.
So would it make sense? I guess my point is, if I have a maybe a cheaper guitar and I want to bring it in. I mean, like the Les Paul Special double cutaway, it was not a bank breaker for a Gibson. It's at all. And that's telling you, like, I'm like working man's dollars with family and stuff. So I don't get to buy all the crazy bonkers gear. But if I wanted to have that refinished, like yours, you got redone in Pale and Blue. It was originally black, right?
Yeah, there was a crack at the heel, and I had that repaired, had it refinished the way I wanted. Yeah,
Pale and Blue, that sounds really cool.
Oh man, it is beautiful.
Yeah, it's great.
For real, it's banging. But if I wanted to do that, say in, I don't know, something completely ridiculous like sparkle orange. If I wanted to do that, what would I be looking at to just get a straight paint job?
Poly.
You'd put poly on that?
Well, yeah, I think for sparkle, because of the texture of that sparkle,
you got to go poly.
You got to go poly on those.
Okay.
Yeah. And
so
price wise for the whole guitar, I'd say are in between $500 and $700,
that
respectively.
Seem terrible. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I would think maybe a little bit more. I don't know, but I mean, hey. You've got them painted like that, so I don't know.
Well, you're all and he's also trading like boxfuls of like
that's the lower end. I'm sorry, guys, that's probably lower. I mean, we're looking at it respectively.
$1,000.
Yeah, the higher end. I would say in between $5,000 and $1,000.
Right.
Just
so
roughly.
you got to really, really want a different color guitar.
I mean, and I'm talking legitimate repair paint shop too. I'm not talking about the guy down the road.
Yeah.
Yeah, not quick and dirty with the rattle can kind of thing.
Yeah. There's a lot of YouTube videos about that, by the way.
Refinish my guitar.
Yeah. A lot of guys are doing like, hey, I'll show you how to dip a whole guitar.
Unless you're making like, the
multicolor
Van
guy.
Halen 5150 kind of stripe strat, don't do it.
Right.
So, okay, we'll wrap this up with just, I guess, maybe what are some things you absolutely must ask yourself or the person who you're about to have the work done by?
I would say, is this going to make, like, if you're doing it for yourself, are you really going to like the guitar that much better? Mm-hmm. Is it going to make you, because I think about all guitars, the most important thing is when you open the case and you see it, do you want to play it? And if that's just going to make you want to play it more, then that's something to move forward with. But if it's like, if you're just doing it for like, whatever, no reason, I don't know. Don't waste your time or money and don't hurt the value of your guitar.
Yeah. Because there's probably a brother or sister of that guitar that is in the color that you want.
That's true.
Maybe.
Unless it's some crazy speedboat thing.
Yeah, I would agree with you, Zach. I mean, if you have to weigh value versus want, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, want versus need.
Want versus need, and how bad, that's basically it, in my opinion. How long do you plan on keeping the guitar?
What would you absolutely never do that to?
Oh my gosh!
I would never do it to like. I have a 1955 J50, and it is super checked and pretty beat up, but I don't think I would never get it refinished. Unless it was dire. Unless it got next to like a heater or something and the finish bubbled up, I probably wouldn't finish it.
I would never do that to any guitar that has been honestly and naturally played.
Oh yeah.
I would not do that. Because
there's a difference between abuse and then like honest playware.
Just honest playware. There's nothing cooler, in my personal opinion, there's nothing cooler and desirable than a guitar that's been honestly played and wore down.
Yeah.
There's a podcast topic, the debate of relicking.
We actually broached that.
Okay.
Yeah, actually.
You guys were lucky I wasn't around then.
That was an early one, and it was a very interesting discussion. And just to touch on that quickly, we did bring up the idea of, what do we think about brand new guitars that are being relicked, or and then the entire naming convention around that sort of thing.
Right.
Fender's got a very convoluted, way of talking about it, and
you either love them or hate them, man.
Yeah. So that was a really go back. I'm trying to remember what number it is.
It was early. I remember listening to that. I like that.
All of our previous podcast episodes are available on our website, theguitarknobs.com. I'm pointing that out not as a plug, but because once you go on YouTube, on iTunes, they drop off after a certain number.
Podbean, I think you can listen to all of them.
On Podbean as well, yes.
That's right.
But our site, too.
Right.
You can see the pretty pictures there, too.
Site's better.
Yeah, thanks, man. Alrighty then. That was a lovely discussion. I learned a lot. I always like it when I learn it and I'm doing less talking. I'm sure most people appreciate that too.
No.
So anyways, let's move on to our
Would You Rather
segment.
That was nice.
That was a good one.
Thank you.
All
First
right.
try.
This week, we are going to pose the question.
So would you rather have Fender Antiqua finish on a Les Paul Custom, or would you rather have the blue floral design that Fender put out in the late 60s, but on a Gibson Les Paul Custom? So Fender Antiqua or floral on a Les Paul Custom. You have to choose either one of those two, as painful as it's going to be. You have to make a choice. I don't want to go first.
So let me just describe the Antiqua for those who are maybe not as familiar with it. It is a natural, almost a oily cream kind of looking color that has...
It's like old milk.
Now you're just filthy and vulgar.
Yeah, it looks like kind of like a little like old milk, but all around any edge. It gets
darker at the edge.
It's like a very, very, very skinny burst.
Like you've been blowing smoke on it forever.
It's
smoked.
Like it's greenish, brownish,
smoked.
And the pick guard matched.
Yes,
on the fenders.
the pick guard also matched on the lines.
It's odd.
So your pick guard on the Les Paul Custom would also have to have that very skinny, smoky burst.
Now the floral design is pretty general.
It would have a clear pick guard on the floral.
Yeah, here's a good example. If you had a really, really, really aged, like maybe Olympic white, that you had a blowtorch, and you used the blowtorch to do the burst around all the edges. Just a real quick pass on it, so it like charcoalized. It kind of, except it was kind of a greeny brown,
kind of green.
Yeah, it's an interesting thing.
Oh man!
And then the blue flowers was a blue print top over blue sparkle.
Yeah, it was wallpaper.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's pink, yellow, and white.
Pink, yellow, white, pink. And the background's blue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think yellow's in there.
Possibly so.
Yeah,
Anyways,
there's all sorts of colors in the blue, but it's mainly blue.
Yeah.
I happen to like it.
Okay. Well, then you go first.
Yes.
Now this is very tough because on a Les Paul custom, very, very tough.
Block inlay neck, bound neck,
the bells and whistles, baby.
gold hardware.
I forgot about the gold.
That's right. So this is really difficult because an Antiqua finish on a Les Paul would actually, in my opinion, look more natural on a Les Paul than a floral design. So with that logic, even though it's still probably going to be ugly as all get out, I'm going to have to go with the old Fender Antiqua.
It's going to look like a really old white Falcon that's been left in a barn for a long time.
Oh, gosh.
Blasphemy.
Okay. All right, Zach, you're next.
You know, I think I would go Antigua too, even though I've seen a few of them and it is so horrible in person. But the blue like wallpaper on a Les Paul
custom,
on a custom, yeah, and it would be like matching on the neck.
I can more so see it on a studio. But
yeah, some without binding.
Right.
Yeah,
the
but
binding
we chose
would pop.
customs.
That's right.
I think I'd have to go Antigua.
Okay.
I don't know why. I just think that I would look at them both and cringe.
Yeah.
And be disappointed in what I had, but I would be less disappointed with the Antigua.
Yeah.
I agree.
Okay.
Yeah.
The thing that because I've seen, like the Coronado specifically with the smoked F holes, that's all I can think about right now. So I can't possibly choose that.
Aged cheese.
That's a great guitar. That's a great guitar.
Right.
But not with that finish.
Right.
All right, I'm gonna go the blue floral.
Hey,
And not just to be the foil here, but because that would be arguably the most recognizable guitar on the planet.
I'd have to agree.
And it would gain instant value.
You can actually buy a blue floral pickguard for a Les Paul or a pink paisley. They are available.
I just shivered a little bit.
Yeah, and they don't look right.
Yeah.
In my opinion.
They don't look right.
No.
Yeah, it's like that house that I was talking about earlier.
Yeah.
All right. Well, this has been a ton of fun, and we hope that you have enjoyed our discussion, listening, and probably stuck in traffic. Hopefully forgot about that you were stuck in traffic behind that same truck that you've been following for the last 10 miles.
That stinks.
I want to just give a shout out real quick to our executive producers, Tom Barazin and Martin Cliff.
Thank you, guys.
And if you would like to become an executive producer, so a member of the executive producer ring, you can head over to patreon.com, The Guitar Knobs, to find out how. And with that, I say thank you, Zach, for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Yep, we'll have you back again, I am sure.
Good times.
Good luck with Mythos Pedals over there. And everybody be looking for pictures because we're going to post them up for this one.
Absolutely.
Subscribe!
Yeah.
I have all the cheapest guitars that you guys don't have.
Well, that's it for these knobs. Please visit our Patreon page at patreon.com/theguitarknobs. Visit our website at theguitarknobs.com for all of our past episodes, 4 on the Floor blog, and other good stuff. You can connect with us on social too at our Facebook page and share your gear and stories on our Facebook group. Also, be sure to check out our Instagram at Guitar Knobs. Catch you next time.